we made about, I don't know, 50 pounds of jerky before we left
Mhm.
to take in the car. So
Yeah.
that
Wow.
was really great. That was a big hit.
We'll go through, 360 eggs in a week. You know what I mean? 80
Yeah.
pounds of ground beef.
I think we ordered 70 once. Most,
Yeah.
I think, but then that was probably a little more than we needed, but they get eaten later.
Mhm.
So it's nothing ever goes to waste.
Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to talk with Rebecca and Louie today. Thanks, guys, for being here. I truly appreciate you. And we're going to get your perspective on what it's like to be a carnivore family.
Right.
All right. Sounds good.
Awesome. So, for those that don't know you guys, can you kind of tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Yeah.
Sure. So, Louie and I, we've been married for 17 years. We have 8 kids, and they are all still at home. So they're from ages 16 until 2 years old, and then everything in between. And for about a year and a half now, we have eaten carnivore as a whole family from top to bottom. So
Wow.
that is the gist of our story.
That is incredibly unique, especially in this day and age, for an entire family to eat this way. And I'm definitely interested in figuring out exactly what the secret sauce is behind your guys' efforts, and to kind of see what some of the results are with you guys. So you said you have 10 kids,
Eight
uh,
kids.
I'm sorry, 8 kids, 10 total in the house, 10 total
Yes.
carnivores. So how did the transition go? Was that a rocky start, or how'd that go?
Let's say that there are definitely the difficult moments. The hardest part is the very beginning, I think, when you're taking out all of the big items like the bread, the pasta, the pizza, all of those things, and then trying to figure out what you're gonna eat and how you're gonna make it still enticing and appetizing for kids who, you know, it's a big change and suddenly for them.
Mm.
And then we just kind of took it slow and did it in phases and just changed it a little bit at a time. Like for us, we changed our diet 100% from day one. But with the kids, we took it on in steps, basically.
And it was difficult for probably the older ones. It was a little bit more difficult, but like the 2-year-old, I mean, this is pretty much all she knows.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Nice. So it's pretty easy then to make the transition, considering.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
very cool.
And it was interesting at first for me in the beginning because, wondering like, is this really gonna be safe for like basically our newborn? I mean, she's just now getting introduced to food and we're gonna start feeding her like meat like right away. But like all the stuff that I'd heard and I'd read and I'd seen, I'm like, okay, this has gotta be safe. This has gotta be how we were designed to eat. And guess what? She's still alive, you know, and she's
Nice.
thriving.
Awesome.
Yes.
No heart attacks yet?
Mhm. Nope.
Very cool. So how has this affected your day to day in terms of what it was before and now? Is it harder, easier?
I think it's easier
Easier.
in a huge regard, mostly because, number one, like the grocery bill is less expensive. There's a lot less fighting. You know what I mean? Number two, it's like a lot of these kids can learn to cook for themselves. You know what I mean? We're getting ready to do a video here soon showing all the kids cooking their meals, and they're going to each of them going to show you the different meals that they know how to cook. Like our 4-year-old knows how to fry his own chicken, make his own pork steaks in the air fryer. We supervise him so he doesn't burn the house down, but he knows how to get it out, put it in a package, put it on the thing, put it the way he wants it, sets the timer the way he wants, takes it out, eats it with butter, and so in that way, it's really been simplified.
Yes. Everything's so much simpler now because we have a much simpler menu, and the kids, we let them pick what they want to eat. That's part of why it was important that they learned how to cook. They can eat whatever's on the menu, whatever's in the fridge. They are welcome to eat it, and so they are not stuck having to eat. Like I don't say everybody eats chicken today. Everybody's going to eat ground beef tomorrow. They get to self determine that, and they really like that. And it's been kind of freeing for the household. It's made food like a less of a big deal. It makes it seem like, well, we've got our whole thing is all about the way that we eat, but in our day-to-day life, it's actually a very minor part of what we do.
Yeah, it's really nice because it's not, like Rebecca was saying, it's not okay on Monday, we're going to have, this on Tuesdays. It's like everybody can pretty much eat whatever, if it's in the refrigerator, unless there's a sign saying, don't touch, this is mom's, or don't touch, this is theories, or don't touch, this is, crashes. I mean, it's like you can eat what you
Mhm.
want if it's there.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. So do you guys have a set, meal times, or you just kind of let them be
Right.
We're
whenever they want to
hungry.
eat?
Yeah,
Yep.
just when you're hungry, you eat. You know what I mean? And it seems like recently we've kind of had to put cutoff times because it'll be midnight. All of a sudden, somebody's wanting to throw something in the air fryer. I'm like, dude, it's midnight. Man. You're supposed to be in bed, like
Like,
you
"Oh, I
know.
forgot."
Right, right. But it's cool. Like I mean, the kids, we homeschool, but a couple days a week they go to a co-op, and so they prepare their own lunches the night before. On Sundays we live pretty far from where we attend church, and
Mhm.
so on Saturday nights everybody will kind of cook what they want to eat. Between services on Sunday, and we'll go to the zoo or go to the park and hang out, and we'll go to the Y and swim. And everybody prepares their own meals. It's pretty cool. Yeah, and sometimes we'll cook. We'll actually go to the park, and I'll bring my burner and my big 17-inch cast iron pan, and we'll cook for everybody at a park or something. Nice. Right now it's getting kind of cold because winter, but yeah,
Nice. You say 17-inch cast iron pan?
yes,
Mhm.
it's a big one. You.
That's massive.
Yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah.
Wow, very cool. So the kids are allowed to intuitively eat, and so that's interesting. So have you noticed any differences in their health or their behaviors since transition into carnivore?
Yes, absolutely. The there's the little things that you didn't know, like their energy levels are a lot more even because they're not in the sugar and carb roller coaster.
Hmm.
There's a lot less stomach aches. Our son is 16, and when he was 13, he started having migraines, and we spent a year trying to figure out what was causing them, and they basically just ended up putting him on medication for it. Uh, but after about 6 months of doing carnivore, his migraines went away. So he doesn't have migraines anymore, which I think is uh, a really big win because he's so young to be dealing with something like that. And
Absolutely.
then we had one that was kind of underweight and she has filled out as she's grown. And then we had one of our kids that was struggling with being overweight and she has naturally uh, lost weight and is at a much healthier position right now as well. So it's kind of all there's, there was nothing like really dramatic. It just kind of evened everything out.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that I notice is that there's a lot less complaining. It used to be, like I was a pizza holic, burger holic. Um, would order pizza, you know what I mean? And some kids would be like, dude, I'm so burned out of pizza. You know what I mean? It's like, well, it's what we have. You know what I mean? It's like, consider yourself grateful. As many people that would love to have pizza.
Hmm.
And I, I mean, I can't recall a time where somebody says, dude, I'm just so sick of meat. Like that, it doesn't happen. Matter of fact, the opposite happens. You start cooking and somebody's like, oh, it smells so good. You know what I mean? And, one of the little kids, our 7-year-old is like, dude, daddy, like meat is just like my favorite thing to eat. And she always like, it's my favorite. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, I'm glad you like it because that's what we eat.
Nice. Is that the one in your intro that says meat?
That's
No, no,
that's a
that's a
2-year-old.
2-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a cutie. Kiana.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So
Speaking of your videos, I did want to comment on your guys' video quality. I love your logo, number one. I love the intros. I love the video editing and the quality. So kudos to both of you guys on that. That's
awesome.
really
Thank
quality
you.
stuff.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, it's mostly Rebecca. I did the logo, but she does everything else. So
Very cool.
yeah.
So what do I take it the kids are all in school. So what do they pack
Mm.
for lunch?
Most days they go through trends, but most days right now they pack probably half of them pack pork steaks. That's their favorite thing right now. Before that, it was hamburger patties. Those that was kind of a trend there for a while. Some of them will pack ground beef. They will And some of them will pack pork, steak bites. That's the other really common one for taking for lunch. A little of it depends on whether or not they're gonna be able to heat it up in a microwave, which at our co-op days they can, and they like different things. Some things taste better warm than cold.
Hmm.
And then if it's available, they'll take like sides of cheese or they'll sprinkle cheese on it or just have cheese cubes to go with it. But that's kind of we don't do a lot of dairy, so there's not always that option. But if it's an option, they'll always take cheese.
It's funny too because the perception to others is really interesting. My little girl came to me the other day and she said, "Man, Daddy," she's like, somebody came up to us and said, "Man, you guys must be rich, maybe because I mean, you get to eat this meat like all day, every day." And I told her, "Well, sweetheart, no, we're not rich at all. We're the furthest thing from rich." The difference is though is that it is, less expensive to eat this way because we're not having to buy all the condiments and the breads and all these other things. And a lot of those things are just as expensive, sometimes more than expensive than meat when you compare price per pound. You know what I mean? Like vegetables and breads and such. But um, you know, my older kid, Crash, was talking about how he was at camp and several of the kids, the guys there were just like, "Man, I wish I could eat like that every day." So it's like most of these people, they want meat. Madrigal, is another one of our little girls says that, one of the girls, asked if she could try some. So she has them. She's like, "Man, this is so good." You know what I mean? And she's my 9-year-old. And she says, "Yeah, well, I make this when I come to school. I make my own lunch." She's like, "You cook this?" She's like, "Man, this is really good." She's like, "Can I give you one of my cheat sticks and trade and have some of that?" And that's a little trade. And
Mhm.
so it's just really interesting to see how other kids, kind of covet this way of eating in a way. You know, my son, who's, almost 17 years old, several of his friends, he'd be like, "Man, I want to eat that way." So it's people love meat.
That's awesome. So it sounds like they've had a positive experience so far with their peers.
Right.
Yes, yes, they have. It's been really great.
That's awesome. So what does it look like on vacation? When you got to go and is that's treat time, right?
Right, right. Yeah. Well, it's funny because we actually did a video on that, last year or whatever like that. We took a trip to Texas and we actually brought our cooker. So we drove down to Texas, like 1,000-mile drive. We hung it at the beach. And we could pull over and cook on that 17-inch cast iron, you know what I mean, thing. And also there's times where you just got to run through some place, quick and, you grab and get burger patties, you know what I mean, at a fast food place. We kind of be mindful about where we get them because not all burger patties are created equal,
Hmm.
but like McDonald's and Wendy's, they use 100%, beef. We get them without salt. You know what I mean? There's a lot of companies that are starting to add sugar in their salt. So we bring our own salt with us. And I've kind of been moving away from salt. So I just get mine plain.
We made about, I don't know, 50 pounds of jerky before we left
Mhm.
to take in the car. So
Yeah.
that
Wow.
was really great. Oh, that was a big hit.
Yeah. We got a big
And
chuck roll. You know what I
yeah.
mean? It was a big 30-pound thing of chuck roll and just sliced that up and then made a bunch of jerky and then pork chips as well. We got thinly sliced, pork loin and then dehydrated those to make little chips. So that was another 30
Yeah.
pounds of that.
And when we got to the Airbnb, we just grocery shopped and cooked at the Airbnb. And it was the nice thing was we didn't spend half our vacation at restaurants and searching out for food. And that was really noticeable to us how much time we didn't spend wandering around eating like we
Right.
normally would have on vacation and the cost we would have spent eating out and trying to justify and well, we're on vacation and so let's go have ice cream and let's go get frou coffee and just all these things that you feel justified on vacation. And instead we spent most of our vacation at the beach and fishing and just hanging out with family. And
Yeah.
so it felt like a really uh, more satisfying use of our time.
Yeah, people don't realize it can be expensive. Even going to the drive-through, I mean, we have to buy 50 patties. You know what I mean? To feed all 10 of us. I mean,
Wow.
going to a sit-down restaurant would be $300 or $400 to go sit down. Like if you're gonna go to a, like a steakhouse or something like that, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? So these are all things that we do
Yeah.
often. So, and just like Rebecca was saying, typically on vacation, you want to eat your way around the area that you're visiting, you know what I mean? And it was so freeing in many ways to not feel the need to do that. Even though I'm a food guy, I've always been a food guy. It was really freeing to think, okay, I'm not gonna have to spend, most of my vacation time thinking about, okay, man, I want to go eat over there. I want to go try this. Or I would typically ask locals, hey, where's the best place to eat around this town? I mean, kind of thing. We really got to do vacation type things
Mhm.
and go to the beach and check out the museums and do things. And you eat to get because we need that to live. And then we move on and go do the fun stuff. You're not spending, a couple hours a day, eating at some restaurant and spending boatloads of money. That was pretty cool.
I love that. So you mentioned that you've ordered 50 burger patties. What's your biggest order you've had?
think we ordered 70 once.
Oh my goodness.
Most,
Yeah.
I think, but then that was probably a little more than we needed, but they get eaten later. So it's nothing ever goes to waste. It's
Right. Going to Buffalo Wild Wings, I mean, we need to order, 200 wings.
Mhm.
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh.
yeah. I
That's
mean, the kids
awesome.
eat. I mean, even the 2-year-old, the
Mhm.
2-year-old to eat, 4 to 6 eggs. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, we went out to, like I said, we don't go out to eat very often. It's pretty rare. But we went out with a, a lady from church to a steakhouse, and our 11-year-olds each ordered a rack of ribs with no sauce on it. And the 2 teenagers ordered 20-ounce ribeye,
mhm,
something like that. It was, I mean, so these are, and the
and burger
9-year-old
patties.
and burger patties on the side.
Mhm.
The 9-year-old had pork, she had got pork chops there. I mean, so these are big portions of food, and everybody orders it without sides, and they just eat the meat, and they ordered just on their own. They were like, "Can we have melted butter with this?" And our waiter was just,
They
his
would.
eyes were so big. Every time he would come through, he just, like, kind of marveling at just the, and they ate it up, like, with just good, healthy appetites, and but
There wasn't any waste. Yeah, and I think because the waiters used to, like, especially when we got to the 6-year-old, the 7-year-old, and he's like, and for the little one, I mean, chicken tenders maybe, or
macaroni and
macaroni and
cheese.
cheese. Yeah, it's like she's the one that too. She's really like, "Daddy, like meat is like my favorite thing." You know what I mean? So they just tear it up. You know what I mean? And it was pretty cool. A nice treat is that they realized that they had plain, sparkling water there. So the kids like, "Ooh, can we have sparkling water?" So that the waiter, man, he was blown away. It was so funny. He's like, "Man, your kids know how to do it right." You know?
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So we know that, if you go to a sit down restaurant, obviously on the carnivore diet, at least in my experience, it always seems like it's a little bit more expensive if you want to get, any volume of meat. So, but in terms of, eating at home, since you guys have transitioned, what have you seen a cost increase or a decrease since you've switched to the carnivore diet for everybody?
It's
So
been about the same. I
It's
think in
about
the
the
in
same
the
now.
beginning it went down.
In the beginning, it was more expensive.
It wasn't more expensive, okay. But then, like, after that initial hump, it went down some because you're not having to buy all these other things.
Mhm.
But, over time, I think everybody eats just a little bit more. I think your body needs more. There was a video I watched recently talking about why that happened. It might have been a Kelly Hogan video, I forget, but yeah. So, yeah, I think we're spending about the same
Mhm.
as
It's
we
pretty
were.
close because we're not eating out, we're not eating snacks, we're not ordering pizza, we're not trying to fill up on things that don't satisfy us. Because, like, I'll tell people, the kids used to always be hungry. Like, I always had hungry kids. It didn't matter how much food I made. Somebody was always hungry all the time, and it's not that way anymore. Like, yes, they'll sit down and eat a half a pound of steak at one sitting, but then they may or may not eat again all day. And if they do, maybe it's a couple pieces of chicken in the afternoon. So they're not just constantly, I mean, it would be nothing to spend $50 on cereal a week before. And cereal is not satisfying at all. They were hungry 20 minutes after the box was empty. Everybody's still hungry. So
goodness.
when you take away all of those filler foods and you're just having foods that satisfy, the it's just they're just not as hungry all the time.
Yeah, and I hope that any of the listeners here aren't thinking, "Well, if it's not gonna save money, then no." Because the difference too is, like, we're buying quality food, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? It's like before we weren't buying, the top cuts of meat, you know what I mean, or paying attention
Mhm.
to, "Okay, I wanna get the best quality of this and that." We were just getting the cheapest because everything is so
Mhm.
expensive anyways. And now you're thinking you're eating the most nutrient dense foods that are available, the most,
Mhm.
the least messed with food, you know what I mean, in terms of agriculture and such, you know what I mean? And,
Mhm.
so you're getting quality, so you're getting, price is what you pay, but value is what you get, right? So you're getting better value for the money you're spending on what you're getting, and people you're satiated a much, much longer.
Mhm.
And then all the health benefits that go with it, it's like, okay, well, you're saving money on healthcare, you're saving money on these over the counter meds to treat this or treat that because they don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And everybody is in a better mood, that their overall health is better.
Mhm.
Dad is
Mhm.
shrinking and getting
Yeah.
better. Yeah, it's definitely a win-win no matter if it's the same price or cheaper. I think for like myself, it's just me and my wife in the house. It was definitely a price reduction. for sure in the amount of money that we spend in groceries. But, you have 8 children that are growing, so that requires a substantial amount of food to even keep it at the same level with that quality of food is just it's amazing.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I know that if we were still buying this quality food and we were still eating all the other things, the other entertainment foods, the grocery bill would be through the roof.
Mhm.
I mean, it's through the roof now, but it would be,
Yeah.
you know,
But, and if we had to, we could make it a lot cheaper. Like we could require ground beef to be a bigger part of
and
our
eggs, yeah.
eggs. We could and there's I mean, we're self-employed, so there are times when things are a little leaner and we're like, all right, we're gonna be doing a lot more hard-boiled eggs this month and a little more ground boy just to help things even out a little bit. But we're thankfully able to make it so that on birthdays or special occasions, we'll get shrimp and we'll get other things. Like we can't eat shrimp every day, but we can eat shrimp a couple times a month,
Mm,
and so we're that's just to say is we could make it a lot cheaper if we needed to. We're just thankfully able to do a little bit more variety and that helps make it fun.
right.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. So, how has it been in terms of trash output at your house? Is it less than before?
That's a
Um,
good question.
yeah, I didn't think about that. I mean, the trash has to get emptied every day, sometimes a couple times a day, just because there's a lot of us. There's 10 of us, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it depends on how things are packaged too. I mean, some of the pork steaks are packaged individually.
Mhm.
That makes
You
a
know
lot
what
of
I mean? So
waste.
that makes a lot of waste because we'll go through like 12 pork steaks in a day. You know what I mean? So that's 12 packages of stuff that's just getting tossed, you know what I mean? Kind of
Right.
stuff. You know,
And
we'll go through, 360 eggs in a week. You know what I mean? So, 80
yeah,
pounds of ground beef, you know what I mean? So all that stuff creates a lot of trash.
right. Yeah, I was just curious because just me and my wife, it's this significantly less with the trash, but I'm able to notice it easier because it's just us two. So,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, I got a video that I'm putting together about how the carnivore diet is better for the environment.
Nice.
Oh, that will be awesome.
That would be.
Yeah. Less water usage, less trash waste. The benefits go on and on and on. I was
Oh,
just
yeah.
curious what your guys' output was. Apparently, it's still pretty significant with having that many people.
It's just the people it would be hard to do. I'd have to think back of what it was like when we had I know what you're saying with all of the packaging and everything that comes from just like cereal boxes and
Right.
all of those kinds of things. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
And
remember.
we buy things by the case too. So
That helps.
it helps, you know. So
Mm.
we shop at a place called Restaurant Depot, which is like a Costco for restaurants, if you will.
Yep.
So yeah,
Nice.
yeah, pretty cool.
So, what kind of upcoming content do you have planned for your channel in regards to the family content? I know you said that you're going to do possibly some cooking videos here recently, but do you
Mhm.
have any other future plans?
Yes, right now what I'm working on is a series about how we transitioned our kids because I think a lot of people don't know where to get started. And most videos for adults will just tell you you just got to jump in and go all the way, and which I absolutely agree with. But when I look back at what we did with our kids, we kind of did it in phases. So I'm going to do a series of videos talking about the phases to help make it easier for kids to transition and just easier for a family to figure out what works for you, how to build your own habits, build your own routines. So that's what I'm working on right now, and I should have the first one of that up this week. I'm almost done with it.
Yeah,
Well,
and so I think a lot of that's important too because maybe there might be a lot of people that think you just need to go cold turkey, and not everybody can do that. Unfortunately and fortunately, I was in a position where I needed to make a hardcore change from whatever I ate yesterday. I can no longer eat that today moving forward. And that's what I did. And Rebecca jumped on that with me. But with the kids, we transitioned them a little bit
Mhm.
slower. And we allowed them to eat things that we weren't eating anymore, like barbecue sauce, for instance. Everybody knows barbecue sauce has got sugar in it. But you know what? It's like if that's what it's going to take to get them to have a smoother transition, you know what I mean? But we got rid of like the cereal, like the bread and that kind of thing right away. No more donuts and cake and that kind of stuff. So just, little
Mhm.
things like that. But
yeah, that's awesome. So, what's really cool is, since you you're able to not focus on food so much that now you're able to spend a lot more quality time with your family.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's cool. I mean, teaching them how to cook, is awesome too. And we're still, showing little tips and tricks here and there, watching them cut. There was somebody, I mean, I posted a clip of one of my daughters, using a knife that was almost as big as she is, man, to cut stuff. And somebody made a comment about, the size of this and that. And so it's just funny. It's cool. But just showing them little techniques and, I mean, you get some people that are like, man, that's too dangerous to have, a 9-year-old using a knife that big. I'm like, well, funny thing is she actually cut herself using a knife that was much smaller than that. It's,
Maybe the
but
bigger knife's helping her,
that's what
Mhm.
I think. She prefers the bigger knife because it's easier,
right?
you know, and she knows how to do it. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, what advice would you guys give to a family that is possibly thinking of transitioning their family to a carnivore diet? What advice would you have for them?
Mhm. I'd say, I mean, for one, just just try it. Just be willing to start and be unapologetic about it with people that want to give you a hard time because it's kind of a running joke that nobody was mad at me when I was feeding my kids fast food at McDonald's, but I suddenly want to feed them steak every day and that makes me a bad parent. And they're all of a sudden they're really worried about their diet, but they weren't when it was objectively terrible. So, just kind of come up with something very simple to say of just like, we're trying something new for the health of our family, and this is what we do now, and just let it be at that. And then, um, and then just keep digging into it. Continue to learn. Don't just sit there and make the change, but continue to learn so that you can answer the questions. Because when people are well-meaning and they are concerned or curious, then you can actually answer when they say, "Well, don't they need fiber? And don't you worry about don't they need a variety of fruits and vegetables from the color spectrum?" And start to learn, and that will help give you reassurance as well. But but go ahead and just start. And if it's imperfect, if there's something that you like, some people, they can't do anything yet about what their kids eat at school. They go to school, they eat the school lunch. That's too much to figure out at once. Start with everything that you eat at home, changing that. And then once that gets normal, then you can worry about, okay, I'm going to have to send them something to school or figure that next step out. And that's why I say it's a transition, because there's just a lot more moving parts when you add kids into the mix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think for me, I would say that, go find some other people that have kids too that you can see online and see what
Mhm.
they do. Go find some groups, in social media or whatever like that to get support too. Because there are some people that are going to say that, man, how could you deprive your children like that? Or your kids deserve to eat this or
Mhm.
deserve to eat that. But if you look at these bad things as drugs, you would never tell a drug addict, well, you deserve to have a little bit more of that drug because you've been clean now for so long. And you know what I mean? So, I mean, you're entrusted with the health and the well being of your child, and you're making the best decision that you can with the information that you have available. You know what I mean? And right now, it's just a lot of, anecdotal stuff, but, we're seeing lots and lots of people experience all kinds of benefits from eating this way. You know what I mean? And I don't think that people want their kids to get sick or to get, sick and have a bunch of ailments when they get older. And we can prevent a lot of that now with how they eat, I believe.
Mhm.
So, I mean, my life has turned around big time in just 2 years. And I think about, the 47 years that I ate terribly. And I'm thinking, my 2-year-old, I mean, I'm really interested to see how she is going to turn out, when she's, in her 40s and 50s and 60s. Hopefully I'm around then, you know what I mean? But
Right.
so,
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, I love the transition. Is going to take time, especially, and do what you can. Switch them at home, and if you can't do the school thing yet, then wait on that. Just get stuff right at home. I love that advice. That's really good
yeah.
advice.
And ultimately, you're the parent, right? I mean, you get to decide, you're the one buying the groceries. You get to decide what the kid's going to eat, what they're not. But, yeah, I think a smooth transition would be helpful, would be awesome, and it would probably, we get some people that kind of say your kids are going to resent you when they get older,
Yeah.
and you know, I guess maybe if you took away everything right away, maybe there would be a phase of bitterness. But man, our kids, they never complain about what they eat.
Mhm.
Like I mentioned earlier, nobody's ever like, I just so tired of eating steak. That doesn't happen, but it
Give me
used to happen all the time with, "Man, I'm so tired of Cheerios. I mean, can't we just get something else? Or I'm so tired of pizza. Like, can we go get pasta or, whatever."
Mhm.
It doesn't happen this way, and it's a trip. I thought that I would get burned out too of eating meat, and I did in the early stages, but after about the 3rd week, it was like I got used to everything being brown, you know what I mean? I got used to everything just being meat, you know what I mean? But I was a food guy, I was a glutton, I wanted variety in what I eat, and I feel like I've got variety now, even though I basically eat 6 items. I feel like there's variety in that because the way you prepare them is different and always tastes good. And once I get food in my belly and I'm not thinking about food anymore, I'm not thinking about variety and tastes because I'm full now. I don't think that I needed it. And I used to hear this stuff all the time before I got on the diet. And I didn't fully understand what that meant because I was like, okay, well, there's many, many times where Rebecca would, make some food for dinner and I'd come home and I'm like, yeah, I've been in the mood for a burrito all day long, so I'm just gonna go get a burrito. And she's like, "Well, why don't you just eat what I've made, and then if you're still hungry, you can go get a burrito." So I'm like, "All right." So I'd eat whatever she made, and even though I wasn't hungry, I still wasn't satisfied because I wanted that burrito taste or that, French fries or whatever it was. And
Mhm.
I would go get that on top of eating. And I didn't need the calories, I didn't need the food, but I'd go do it. And now that
Wow.
desire, it goes away, and I'm probably eating more calories now than I ever did. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it just it my body responds differently, and I don't crave, I don't fantasize about the food I'm gonna
Mhm.
eat throughout the day anymore. I know what I'm gonna eat. I know it's gonna be one of these 6 items, and it's gonna be good, and I'm not gonna think about food anymore for the rest of the day until I'm
Mhm.
hungry again. And that is where it's really freeing. And I don't
Yes.
feel like I'm a slave to food. I'm not a slave to my belly anymore.
That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. And you're living proof that a calorie is not a calorie.
Oh,
They're not what they
absolutely.
say they are.
Well, I remember seeing, Bella and seeing Kelly online and just seeing these little girls. I hope that's not an offensive term, but these little girls eating thousands of calories per day. And I'm like, there's no way. I mean, I'm probably eating 3 or 4,000 calories a day, eating the McDonald's and stuff like that. And, I'm 285 pounds. Like, how is it that these girls are as fit and as slim as they are? And they're eating way more calories than I am. It's
Right?
different.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't say enough about this diet, and your kids are going to grow up to be rock stars. Well, maybe not rock stars like dad, but rock stars in life.
Right.
But
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. So for those that want to connect with you and learn more in depth, how to do a carnivore family, where can everybody find you?
So the main place is on YouTube. It's Carnivore Family is our YouTube channel. And then I'm also on Instagram is the other place most active. But you can also email me if they want to email me directly at carnivorefam@gmail.com. I like to converse back and forth with people and answer questions, and I'll do that as long as I can to help people out.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Rebecca and Louie. I really appreciate you spending this time with me today and getting the message out that families can be healthy as well. And I love your insight and I truly appreciate you guys. And thanks for being here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you.